Chapter 13. Twin Outings. You were trying to be sneaky. Red had already said your car wouldn't be ready until tomorrow morning, making you kind of regret taking his tune-up offer. Maybe he wasn't as good with cars as you first thought and was having trouble with it? Regardless, that left you with taking an Uber to the restaurant where you were supposed to meet Brian. So, trying to walk quietly as possible, you headed to the front door of the mansion to get to the road. Then you'd walk for a good 10 minutes and try to get your Uber. No need to get an Uber here, where others might find out you're going out on a date.
Reader, what are you doing?
Shit. Of course, it had to be the one skeleton you absolutely did not want to know you were heading to a date. You turned to see Blue with hands on hips, cocking his head to the side as he gave you a puzzled look. I was just getting an Uber to head out to,
Relax, reader. Black already told us you were going on a date tonight.
Black, if this is part of my training, dealing with a ticked-off Blue, you're even more sadistic than I first thought. Blue didn't look pissed off, though. He was smiling. It was a genuine smile, too. You could usually tell when he was putting on fake cheer. He approached and pulled something out of his pocket. Your ears heard a jingle sound before you felt the keys placed in your hand.
Didn't I tell you he'd realize how awesome you are? But no way are you meeting him in an Uber. Classic Paps wanted me to give you those. You get to borrow his convertible.
Blue said, giving your shoulder a pat. You stared dumbly down at the keys. They definitely were for the cherry red Mustang convertible, which was Classic Pap's treasured baby. You recognized the golden skull keychain, which you always thought was cool.
He would have given them to you himself, but he had business with the ambassador tonight. Gotta say, those clothes look sharp.
Blue said, cyan eyes studying you from head to toe. You found yourself blushing and ego rising under the praise. Thanks, I was trying real hard to look good. What do you think? You asked, looking down at your clothes. It was a casual restaurant, of course, just a first date, but you put a lot of thought in your choices. A shirt with a Japanese symbol of peace displayed on it, a leather jacket recently cleaned, and your best pair of jeans.
I think you should stop worrying if you look good. You were already there.
You lifted your head, finding his glowing eyes still studying you, the smile still in place, but appearing a little sadder. You never said stuff like that before. The words were out of your mouth before you thought better. Damn it, things were going fine. He wasn't freaking out about you going on a date. He wasn't calling you his boyfriend. Why did you have to say something so stupid? It just didn't seem fair, though. Why couldn't he make you feel this way before? Like you were someone special. He must have saw a flash of fear because he was raising his hands in a peaceful gesture and taking a step back.
Reader, it's okay. I'm not going to force anything. And you're right. I never said stuff like that back when it mattered most. Sometimes we don't know just how important something is until it's gone.
Blue said, now looking at the floor instead of you, scratching the back of his skull. The last words came out a whisper, and in a moment of clarity, you realized he was thinking of Stretch. It felt like a lifetime since you last hugged Blue, but there was still a familiarity to it. The moment your arms wrapped around his torso and head touched his chest, you got a whiff of the same mint scent he always had on him. The body warm and sturdy under your touch. Your instincts acted before your brain, you only now realizing this might not be a good idea. You heard a quick intake and breath, feeling the skeleton freeze in place. You gulped as you let go, looking up to see Blue's glowing face, cheeks turning blue. Sorry, you, look like you needed that, you said, taking a step back. He stared dumbly at you for a moment before shaking his head and rapping his own skull with a fist softly.
I'm totally being a downer here. Don't mind me, reader. Just have a good time on your date, okay?
Blue said, ruffling your hair playfully. You nearly squeaked, taking another step back as you tried to get your hair back in place.
Hey, I spent nearly an hour trying to get this right. I'm not sure if I should be taking Classic Pap's car, though,
You said, pulling the keys back out. Classic Paps was normally generous with his cousins when it came to anything. Need to borrow clothes? Sure thing. Need for him to cook something? We'll be ready in a jiffy. But you only witnessed one time someone asked to borrow the Mustang. It was Edge, whose car was in the shop.
Absolutely not!
The denial made with such emotional outrage made everyone turn mute, even Edge, who normally didn't take refusal well. After that day, no one ever asked Classic Paps if they could borrow his car.
Oh no, I'm the one in trouble if Classic Paps comes home and finds you didn't take his offer. Now hurry up. You're going to be late for your first date.
You found Blue turning you around and with ease pushing you towards the front door. Okay, yeesh. Thank Classic Paps for me. The door closed behind you, your ears not picking up his soft response.
Thank you for the hug. Even now, you're too good to me.
You got the tools for our hunt?
Black asked, both standing in Grilby's parking lot. Next to them was a black sedan with a fake license plate. Red grunted as he pulled open the duffel bag he'd been carrying over his shoulder.
Duct tape, chloroform, chains, and anything else needed to kidnap a human and scare them shitless when doing it,
Red said, jiggling the items in the bag.
I had a private detective track the license number. The meathead's name is Sam Fricks. He hasn't been to his home, but I tracked the GPS of his car.
Black said as he pressed an app on his phone. He got into the driver's seat as he scanned a map on the screen. As Red got into the passenger side, he's reminded of the kind of resources Black had. After the machine brought them, everyone was relatively good financially thanks to the value of gold. Black, though, was the one who doubled his fortune in a month. He did so well that everyone agreed to let him handle the finances for the family. He just appeared to know exactly which firms to hire, which investments to make, and keep the money raking in. Red didn't know all the specifics, but he heard Black employ private detectives and even computer hackers to get financial info, which always gave him an edge at the stock market.
Also, Classic Pap somehow learned of our hunt. He gave clear instructions that we can bruise, not kill.
Black grumbled as he pulled the car out of the parking lot.
Shit!
Red growled, but he didn't really mean it. He didn't know how Classic Paps found out, but he was actually glad Classic Paps made sure things didn't go too far. He wanted to make the Scott and Sam pay for hurting Reader, but he wasn't really looking to kill anyone. He hadn't had to take a life since he got to this world, and that felt, well, good. Black would occasionally check his phone as they drove down the interstate. After an hour, he took an exit which led to a cheap motel. The half-lit sign noted the piece as Green Hills, paint peeling from the sign and the brick building itself not looking better. Shingles needed replacing, and rusty bars protected the glass windows. Black stopped just short of going into the parking lot.
Take out the cameras,
Black said, keeping his voice low. The instant command normally irked Red. He wasn't Mutt. Only Boss got to give him orders like that, but for tonight, he'd make an exception as long as the guy didn't get too uppity. In a blink of an eye, he was on a rooftop, surveying the long building, a dozen doors lining up against the wall. His night vision instantly picked up two cameras, one for the reception room and the other on the doors. At the reception room, he had a clear view through the window. A chubby guy slept at the desk, snoring as he leaned back in the chair. It only took a flick of a wrist, and a magic bone went through the camera lens. The soft crunch, not even heard by the man. He did the same for the other camera before shortcutting back into the car.
Done,
Red said with a yawn. With a nod, Black pulled the car into the parking lot. You pulled the Mustang into the restaurant parking lot, palms sweaty. You were glad for Classic Paps's generous offer. You really were. You were also so terrified of crashing the automobile wonder that you ended up going 5 miles under the speed limit and driving like a granny. You were pretty sure a couple of drivers who passed by were shaking their heads in shame, seeing how the car wasn't getting its full potential. The restaurant was a Mexican place, rainbow curtains hanging on the windows while trumpet music played in the background. You saw Brian at the front door. He gave a whistle as you stepped out of the car and walked up. "Nice ride. I have to say, you got good taste," Brian said with a grin. He was dressed in jeans and a red t-shirt, which hugged his body nicely. "I'd like to say it's mine, but honestly a friend is just letting me borrow it," you said sheepishly, scratching your head. "You must have some good friends. Let's go get a table," Brian said as you two walked in. "Nice place," you commented, trying to keep the small talk going. "It's near where I live. I like the burritos," Brian said with a wink. Black parked the car right next to a silver Blazer he recognized. "This is the car," Black said as he got out. He sniffed the air, still remembering Scott's scent. The weakling's scent trailed to the nearest door. "Bring the stuff," Black said, rolling sleeves back to show his thick forearms. He didn't want to risk damaging his shirt if there was a struggle. "You bring the fucking stuff. You got hands," Red grumbled, tossing the bag to him. Black gritted his teeth as he grabbed the bag in midair, stopping just short of yelling at his cousin. He understood the message. Red was letting him know he'd only follow orders so much. Mutt would do the exact same thing if he was in a situation where he had to work with Edge. So as much as it grated him, he wasn't going to push that his authority should be respected. With a grumble of his own, he swung the bag over his shoulder. His footsteps were surprisingly light for someone so big as he silently approached the door, Red behind him.
"Did your friends call back yet?"
"No one, stop fucking asking. You ask that damn question every half hour." Black recognized the first voice as Scott. He could only assume the second voice was of the thug he escaped with.
"Well, what do you expect? We've been at the stupid motel for days, and you said you had friends who could take out that monster so we'd both be safe."
"I didn't say shit about us being safe. I said my friends would help me get payback on the fucking freak. Then I'm hightailing it out of here. I just let you tag along because I thought you might want a piece of the action. Shit, I'm regretting letting you stay."
"Hey, it's my money which paid for the motel room. If anyone should leave, it's you."
"Oh, I'd like to see you try, you skinny geek."
"Fuck, sounds like we'll be saving the stupid kid from getting himself killed,"
Red whispered with a roll of his red eyes.
"I need the thug's phone. We need to learn about these friends."
Black whispered back, opening the bag to pull out a white cloth and bottle of chloroform. They had to move soon. The parking lot was mostly empty, so there wasn't a lot of occupants. But things would turn south fast if another guest just happened to walk out of their room. Black handed the drenched cloth to Red. Both of them could smell the chloroform, but it didn't affect their monster bodies in the slightest. With a slight movement of his finger, Black used gravity magic to turn the lock. The click wasn't heard because there was a grunt of pain covering it.
"Yeah, you like that? Going to beat you good for threatening me."
The door opened to show Scott with his arms covering his head, nose gushing blood. A much larger man knelt over him, fist raised, staring stupidly at the two skeletons. He didn't even get a chance to open his mouth before Red appeared behind him, slapping the cloth on nose and mouth. There was a couple of seconds where the man tried to claw the bones off his face, then his body slumped against Red. Black quickly closed the door behind him as he walked in, finding it ironic how their arrival had saved the little coward.
What are you doing here?"
Scott stuttered, crawling backwards from them as he wiped his nose with a shirt sleeve, covering it in blood.
"Well, first we're gonna finish what he started,"
Red said, tossing the unconscious man against a wall none so gently.
This is fucked up. Rear has not one but two monsters to fight for him. I mean, you guys got magic and stuff. Oh, and you play so fair, using dumbasses like this one.
Red said, giving the body next to him a kick.
You are truly despicable, going this far just because my ward beat you fairly in a competition for a job.
Black said, walking toward Scott while cracking a knuckle.
Fairly? He's a monster fucker. He only got that position because he bent over for some monster. Tiffany told me all about it.
The two skeletons stopped in a mid-motion, glowing pupils shrinking as they stared at Scott in surprise. And then he shouts, "Surprise attack," as he throws the magic bone at me. Seriously? Jeez, that's some weird self-defense training, Brian said before stuffing his mouth with another nacho. So far, things have been going good with Brian. Very good. He spoke about the cities he's been to and the unique sights of them, from New York's Statue of Liberty to the Caesar Palace at Las Vegas. Apparently, his job took him to a lot of places. The only interesting things you could think to note was your interactions with the skeletons. Whether it was how Papyrus always beat you at Smash Brothers because he had crazy moves, or how Sans drank at least 4 bottles of ketchup every day. The only taboo subject you didn't speak about was the machine and the missing skeletons. Well, I think the training will help. What made you want the training? Oh, I almost got mugged. Like, assaulted. Luckily a friend saved me, but I wanted to be ready if it happens again. You said, suddenly finding the salsa interesting. First the car, now a friend saves you too. I'll say it again. You have great friends, Brian said before popping a chip into his mouth. Yeah. He's not really a friend though, right? I mean, he saved me because it was his job as my bodyguard, his duty. At least with Classic Paps, you knew where you stood with him. A newly formed friendship he appeared determined to have with you. Black, though, gave you all sorts of mixed messages. He ridicules you, he saves you, he throws bones at you which hurt, and then he touches you in places way too intimately. Just thinking about him gives you a headache. Hey, I don't know about you, but I'm not quite ready for this night to end yet. Want to come by my place? Huh? Okay, not your best response, but you were deep in thought when the big question was asked. Brian rolled his eyes and then pokes your forehead. Each word came with a poke. Do you want to come to my place? I was thinking we'd watch a movie and stuff our faces with popcorn. Okay, sure, you said with a grin, swatting his finger away. Wait, he couldn't mean he wants to. Nah, stop overanalyzing things. Kid, if this is a trick, things are gonna get real ugly and I'm so gonna have a good time.
How is stating the facts a trick? Tiffany lives with you guys. She told me right after I got the rejection what happened. He got the position by letting a monster fuck him. Ugh.
Black took a couple of steps forward and backhanded him across the face. Scott's right cheek began to turn purple and swell up. Watch your language, rat. I wouldn't have you speak so insulting about my ward. Who did Tiffany say Reader slept with?
I don't know. Not like she shared specifics. Just said it was a monster who had a say on who would be hired. I figured it was you.
Scott finished before spitting blood on the floor. Looked like Black's slap caused bleeding in the mouth. Not that Red gave a shit. Fuck, this was supposed to be a fun night of bashing heads. Instead, the most evil bitch in the world was putting a damper on their fun, and she wasn't even in this fucking plane of existence. Black turned and gave him a silent glance. Nothing really needed to be said. Given everything else which happened with the harpy, this news shouldn't even be too shocking. A quiet agreement was made to believe Scott, which now led to a change in plans.
Here's what's going to happen, rat. assuming you want to live.
Yes, I do want to live.
Scott nearly whimpered, rubbing his cheek.
Good. You are going to turn yourself in. Run down the road from this motel until you find a business which will let you call 911. You'll blame all your injuries on the thug over there.
Okay, sure.
Give me your phone.
Here,
Scott said, tossing his cell phone to the skeleton, who quickly caught and pocketed it.
And you will not speak of this false rumor to anyone. You will say you couldn't cope with the loss of the job which drove you to these disgusting acts.
I can do that. I mean, I know you don't want anyone to know, Reader.
He ain't slipping with any of us dumbasses. Tiffany played ya. She's been going out of her way to make sure no one liked the kid. Heck, he's on a date with a human right now as we speak.
Red said, the very familiar feeling of jealousy rising with the words. He tampered down the emotion the best he could as Scott stared from one to the other in shock, face turning dark.
That bitch,
he muttered, wiping more blood from his mouth. Black snorted as he took a step back.
You are far from being innocent in all this. Now get out.
Black growled, nodding to the door. The former student stumbled onto his feet, running to the door and, quite frankly, looking a little crazed as he did it. The door swung and shut with a bang, his figure quickly disappearing past the window.
Surprised you let him off so easily. Figured you'd want a couple more slaps at least.
Red said, as he crouched down to search the body next to him.
I don't want my ward hearing the rat's motives. Easier to get an agreement if I don't make him lose his teeth.
Black said, crouching down next to Red. Red pulled a phone out of a pocket, handing it to Black.
Probably password protected. I have software on my phone to get past such flimsy defenses. Think she spread other rumors about Rita at school as well? He didn't appear to have friends there as far as I could observe. I assumed it was because he's shy. Now, I'm thinking differently.
Black said, slipping the phone in his pocket.
Yeah, I'm assuming this one is losing his teeth.
Red said with a smirk, hoping the change in subject would lighten the mood. Nothing like beating the crap out of an a-hole to cheer someone up. Black returned the smirk, although Red was pretty sure his heart wasn't into it.
Yes, I think having his friends watch a video with him losing every one of his teeth will send the right message.
You don't know at what point you went from cuddling with Brian on the couch to a lot more, but you both were suddenly a lot less interested in the Avengers movie you had been watching. His tongue went into your mouth, playing with yours, hands grabbing your belt and undoing it. You were too busy feeling the muscles on his firm body, shirt removed to let you touch warm, hard flesh. There were occasional grunts of pleasure from him as he finally had your belt undone and was pulling off your pants. You didn't expect things to go this fast, both fear and excitement warring inside you as you watched him undo his own pants. As good looking as the shirt makes you, how about you take it off? Brian said with a wink, pale skin flushing up in excitement. So he did like what you chose. All the effort to dress good really did pay off, a lot more than you thought it would.
I think you should stop worrying if you look good. You were already there.
You stopped in mid-motion, Blue's voice in your head. Damn it, you didn't want Blue's voice in your head, not just when you were about to do something like this. Something you haven't done before. With a huff, you took the shirt off and tossed it, getting rewarded another strong kiss from Brian. Is Blue waiting for me to return? Ugh. You found yourself pushing Brian back as you shook your own head. Why did you have to think that? It wasn't relevant, even if it was true. You weren't with Blue. You were with Brian and supposed to be thinking about him. Hey, everything okay? Brian asked, cocking his head to the side. Yeah, You didn't even know what to say. Leave it to your own head to ruin the mood. Brian smiled, grabbing his pants to pull them back on. No, I get it. We've been going way too fast here for just a first date. I shouldn't have pushed for sex this fast. Brian said, not appearing at all annoyed by the Halton things. You meanwhile were annoyed, or were you relieved? Wait, maybe it was you annoyed it stopped because you were thinking about Blue, but relieved you didn't go too fast? Damn it, why couldn't you stop thinking about Blue? Hey, even if we aren't, doing it, okay if I spend the night? You asked, as you went to grab your pants. It was ridiculous of you to feel shy around Brian when he saw you totally naked, but the feeling was there. Sure thing. I'm for a good spooning, Brian said, before giving you a kiss on the cheek. You smiled as you watched him get up and head to the bedroom, enjoying seeing his back muscles. You may not be getting any tonight, but at least you'd enjoy not sleeping alone. And if Blue is waiting for me, well, he can just wait all night, because I'm not going to worry about what he thinks. And you were going to stop thinking about him, even if you needed to count sheep while in bed with Brian to do it.